Let's jump right into this explainer and decode what is honestly one of the most ancient, dramatic mysteries of human suffering and hidden motives out there. If you think about it, the Book of Job operates almost like a cosmic crime board. You've got actions down on Earth that are directly tied to a heavenly courtroom, a courtroom that our main character can't even see. Relying on Dr. John Walton's deep dive into the text, we're going to uncover the mechanics of blame, how the ancients viewed suffering, and a psychological test that pushes a human being to the absolute brink.
So, picture this. We are looking at the second heavenly scene. Remember the first round of this cosmic wager? Job lost literally everything. His sheep, his cattle, his immense wealth, all gone. And even more devastatingly, he lost his children. He was stripped of every single thing that defined his prosperity, and yet, he didn't break. So the heavenly court reconvenes. Yahweh and the challenger are brought face to face once again to set the stage for an even more brutal trial.
And that brings us to a really fascinating concept, the grammar of blame, and how we actually assign responsibility in this text.
Now, even after losing everything, Yahweh points out that Job is still holding on to his integrity. But Yahweh's very next statement is absolutely wild. He explicitly tells the challenger that he incited him to ruin Job. The Hebrew root verb used right here is sut, which simply means to incite. And mapping exactly how this specific Hebrew verb functions linguistically, well, it reveals the true chain of command in this cosmic legal case.
Think of it like an accountability matrix that shows up across several biblical texts. Whenever sut is used, it follows a very strict pattern. The challenger acts as the subject. He's the one who influences the decision. Yahweh is the direct object, meaning he is the one who actually carries out and is ultimately accountable for the action. And Job? Job is simply the indirect victim. We see this exact same grammatical structure over in Samuel and Jeremiah. The challenger influenced the decision, for sure, but Yahweh is the one accountable for the action taken against Job.
Now here's the real kicker. Job has absolutely no knowledge of the challenger's role in any of this. Just imagine going through the absolute worst trauma of your life, and you only see the hand of God at work, simply because you only understand Yahweh's role as the direct object. You have no clue there's a challenger pulling the strings behind the curtain. It creates this heavy, agonizing sense of dramatic irony. Job is out there arguing against a cosmic system that he can only see half of.
Which leaves us directly into the actual motive of the crime. Or rather, suffering for absolutely no reason.
Yes, we need to talk about the terrifying lack of a motive here. Yahweh states that Job was ruin chinam. This is a Hebrew word that translates to for no reason or without a cause. What's so fascinating about this is that it perfectly echoes the challenger's initial accusation back in chapter 1. Remember? The challenger asked, "Does Job serve God for no reason?" Well, now the tables have turned. Yahweh tells the challenger, "You incited me against him for no reason." The very word used as an accusation is now the literal definition of Job's suffering.
When you track this word hinnom across the rest of the biblical text, a super clear pattern emerges. In Ezekiel, it means doing something in vain. Over in Samuel, it's an unnecessary action. And in Jeremiah, it literally means working without compensation. You put all of that together, and it explicitly categorizes Job's situation as completely undeserved treatment without any underlying cause. He didn't earn this suffering, it's entirely unmerited.
All right, so the challenger needs a new strategy. He pushes for Job to be exiled to the ash heap, adding intense physical pain to the mix. Because Job didn't break in round 1, the challenger changes tactics, and the new argument is deeply visceral. The idea is, hey, anyone can stand tall when they simply lose their stuff. The first round stripped away his prosperity, which was a massive assault on his mind and heart, causing immense mental anguish. But round 2 is a direct physical negative. By applying searing physical pain, the challenger genuinely believes he can force a person's true motives right to the surface. It's an assault on his actual flesh and bone. This physical pain arrives in the form of a horrific skin disease that completely ostracizes Job from his community. He gets expelled to the ash heap. But as Dr. Walton is quick to point out, we shouldn't just picture a dusty little corner. This is the city dump. Quote, "It's not only garbage that was dumped there, it's dung that is dumped there." Job is landed among the refuse and the literal waste. He's at the absolute rock bottom of ancient society, physically agonizing and socially repulsive.
So why go this far? We really have to look at this as the ultimate rhetorical test to uncover true motives.
We have to investigate the strategy behind this gruesome escalation. Why on earth did God permit the dial to be turned up so high? Well, it all comes down to this core question. Does Job only serve God for the benefits? This brutal second round guarantees that Job has every possible opportunity to just abandon his faith. By stripping away his wealth, his family, his status, and finally his basic physical health, the challenger is doing something very specific. He's isolating the variable. If you take away every single reason a human has to be grateful, what are their motives really made of?
And there's a deeply relatable human truth uncovered here. Tolerating the loss of your external possessions is an entirely different psychological battle than tolerating physical agony in your own body. You can mourn a lost business or even a family member while your body is still relatively comfortable. But when you are in chronic, searing pain sitting in a city dump covered in disease, your mind operates completely differently. Pain breaks down psychological walls in a way that mere loss just cannot touch. The challenger knows this perfectly, and he leverages it as his ultimate weapon.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to take a second, look at your own life, and ask yourself this final question. If your worldview was suddenly put on trial, could it withstand the transition from mental grief to sheer, unyielding physical suffering? If every single external blessing was removed and your very body turned against you, what would actually be left of your convictions? It's a terrifying, profound question, but it's exactly what makes the book of Job a masterpiece of the human condition. Think on that.